hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight with our Conversations with the Mountaineer Parents Club. I'm Lisa Hanselman, and I'm the director of the Mountaineer Parents Club. So tonight, as you can see our agendas up here, we will talk to the care team. We'll learn more about tutoring. We'll talk to the Caruth Center tonight, and we'll take your questions towards the end. So first up, I'm going to ask our panelists to introduce themselves, and then we'll hear back from them again later. So let's start with Kim. Would you like to go first?
Hi everyone, my name is Kim Mosby. I'm the Associate Dean of Students. I'm the student advocate and I'm the chair of the care team.
Thank you. All right, and next up, how about our folks with tutoring services?
Hi, my name is Jen Mandeville, and I'm the Assistant Director of the MindFit program, which is one of the many tutoring centers on campus, and MindFit focuses on supporting students who are neurodiverse and have learning challenges with enhanced academic support.
And I'm Natalie Singh Corcoran, and I'm another tutoring center director. I direct the Eberly Writing Studio, and that's a place where students can go and get help with writing.
Thank you. And now from Caruth, Morgan.
Hi everyone, my name is Morgan Sharpless. I am the Interim Assistant Director of Care Management and Clinical Operations of the Caruth Center.
Thank you. All right, also what we're going to start off with is I'm going to tell you just a little bit about the Mountaineer Parents Club. If you have not yet joined the Mountaineer Parents Club, please do. We send emails out twice a month. We send other information out to families. Our general emails, again, go out twice a month, but then every other email that comes from WVU goes through our Mountaineer Parents Club. And we are the primary way that WVU speaks to families. So please do join that if you haven't yet. If you're joined and not receiving our emails, please just let us know. You can reach us at parentsclub@mail.wvu.edu. Now, part of what we do at the Parents Club, besides communicating, is we offer different events on campus. We'll have Fall Family Weekend coming up in 2 weeks. We have an 800 number that you can call at any point, 800-WVU-0096. That's answered by our colleague, Katie Gallagher, and she's happy to take your call at any point. We also have clubs in different local areas throughout the Northeast. If there is a club in your area, they will do different events throughout the year. If there's not a club in your area yet, it just means we're looking for a parent volunteer to help. So if you're at all interested, please let us know. We'd be happy to have all the volunteers that we can. As we go through tonight, please know that we will be introducing our panelists. They will talk about their units, and then we will do the Q&A. So just do save your questions to the end. One other thing about the Parents Club I do want you to know is that we have 2 Facebook pages. So we have the WVU Mountaineer Parents Club Facebook page. That page is general information. That's where we're going to do announcements. That's where we do contests. We're currently running a contest now with a $100 gift card for the winner. We will make sure that all of the information that we want parents to have is on that website. I'm sorry, on that Facebook page. But on the other Facebook page that we run, it's the WVU Parent or Families of WVU Students Facebook page. That is where other family members and parents and whoever can meet up and share questions and get to know each other. We monitor the page briefly, but we don't really do a whole lot. That's where we want our families to meet other families and get to know each other. But as we go through, if you have any questions for the Mountaineer Parents Club, please do email us at that email address, and check out our website. We'll have lots of information on there all the time. This presentation will be recorded and will be on our website at a later date. So if you watch it and want to refer back, please feel free, or if you come across another parent who has not yet seen this, please share that with them. And if you're, again, not getting our emails, please let us know, because this is where we're really making sure that we reach out to parents and give you every bit of information that we have through WVU. So first up, we are going to hear from Dr. Kim Mosby, and she's going to tell us more about the CARE team and what they can do for your students.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I'd like to talk about the CARE team, and I think it's appropriately named because we do care for our students. The CARE team is actually an acronym for collaboration, assessment, response, and engagement. But a lot of you may be more familiar with the term BIT team, or behavioral intervention team, which is what the CARE team is. So what we do is work with students or faculty or staff or the greater Morgantown community to reduce the threats to the safety and well-being of our students. We are a group of professionals here on campus who work every day with students who are at risk or do have complex concerns. From a lot of different professions from all over campus, we have different professional members of our team. We do help students to get the needed support and resources that they need to be successful. But we also, most importantly, provide interventions when necessary, tracking and monitoring of the students' concerns. We are housed in the Department of Campus and Community Life, which is also found within the Division of Student Affairs. And as I said, I chair the CARE team. So, what are the goals of the CARE team? Well, just like you, the goals for your students are the same that we have for the CARE team. We want our students to be successful first and foremost. And how do we do that? We do that by improving coordination. And what I mean by that is that there are a lot of different areas on campus that work with students, especially students who are in need or in crisis. But the CARE team is a great place for you to refer your students, because we are the people who collect the information in one place. So we kind of coordinate the information across campus. When a student is referred to the CARE team, we get information not only through the report, but we work with student conduct, we work with the campus police, we work with the Caruth Center, we work with the academic departments, and that information is housed within the CARE team software. We bridge the gaps in services, because since we are familiar with all facets of the student life while they're here, we can provide the services in one place. We collect information for reporting, so we do report out based on the information that we have received regarding the students. We promote a culture of caring, and we're there to support the entire university community and campus community as a whole. So the goal behind, as I said, the goal behind the CARE team is to do all the things that I just mentioned, but also to work with parents. We work with parents a lot to assist their students as they find their students may need some assistance, they may be in crisis. Here are the core members of the CARE team. Again, I chair it, and as you can see, we have members from very diverse areas on campus, diverse but important to us. The Office of Student Conduct, Carrie Showalter is the director of that area. The Caruth Center, T.M. Hawkins. Housing and Residence Life. For those of you who have freshmen in the residence halls, you may be familiar with Trish Sandana. We work with the University Police Department, and Sherry St. Clair, Captain St. Clair, is a member of our team. Title IX and ADA coordinator. Academic Department, Freddie McDonald is a member of our team, and we have a full-time case manager. So when reports are submitted, Allison Hayes is our case manager. She's the one who actually processes the reports for the CARE team meetings. And then we have ad hoc members. We have one of our counsels is on the committee, Kevin Smino, someone from the Office of Accessibility Services. We have someone from Health Sciences, and then we include other areas as needed. Many times we've had to work with, for example, maybe someone from the Veterans Office or someone from the International Students and Scholars Office. So we have different people from different areas who are ad hoc members of the team. So how does this work? All right, so you can go to our care team website, which I'll talk about later, and you can submit a report. If you, as parents, think that your sons or daughters may need some assistance, please feel free to submit a report, and I'll walk you through the process and show you how we can help you. But what are some of the behaviors that you may want to report? So if you find that you might want to submit a report and you're wondering if this is the appropriate place to do it, it probably is, because these are the behaviors that we will respond to. Obviously, academic concerns. We get a lot of reports from faculty members if their students, for example, have changed, or they're not showing up to class, or they've written some inappropriate information and turned it in when we're turning in a report. So many times we get reports from faculty. Basic needs assistance. We get reports when students may need assistance with housing, or they don't have enough food, or any kinds of basic needs assistance. We work with Caruth for students who are in psychological crises. Health and well-being, again, that's sort of the same thing. Worrisome changes in hygiene, appearance, or behavior. If you have seen a decrease in interest in activities in your students, you may want to submit a care report. We'll follow up. If you're concerned about alcohol or drug use, extreme or inappropriate emotional outbursts, disastrous or traumatic events, hospital admissions. We work with students who have been admitted either for physical or mental situations, victims of a crime, suicide attempts, suicidal ideation, self-harm, violence or threats of violence. It could be veiled or direct, verbal or written, inappropriate interest in weapons, student deaths. Unfortunately, that does occur, and we're happy to, well, we will work with members of the community whether one of our student members dies. Conduct and Title IX concerns. So even if it's something small and you're not sure whether or not you would want to report it or whether you should report it, my suggestion is to submit a care report. And at the very least, we'll follow up with just an outreach just to find out how your students are doing. And if it's something that is extremely serious, when the care team meets weekly, we call staff a report. So we determine who needs to respond to a report, how serious it is, and what the next steps will be. So we've got the whole team comes together, we review the care reports as they come in, and then we determine what the next steps will be. If you would like to submit a care report, there are different ways to do it. You can make the referral through the care team. There are also emergency contacts, because you should know that the care team is not an emergency team. We work between the hours of 8:15 and 4:45. So if it's an emergency, we don't read the reports on weekends or after hours. So call the police. But you can also call our office at 304-293-5611. Or you can email us at thecareteam@mail.wvu.edu for more information. Thank you.
All right, so next up, we're going to learn more about all the tutoring available on campus.
Well, Natalie and I are here to talk to y'all about many of the centers we have on campus. Our centers are housed typically within an active department or a particular center. And currently our centers are offering virtual support in both drop-in and appointment-based sessions. And tutoring isn't limited to just course content, though we have awesome course tutors who are there to help you with material that you just need an extra explanation on. You want to look at some homework problems, you're looking for kind of test prep. But we also have in Natalie's center awesome writing and presentation support. And also in our centers, both in our Student Success Center and through MindFit, we have holistic academic skill development support. So depending on where your student's looking to improve or strengthen their skills, we've got a match for them. And if they're not sure where to start, our website is awesome. Tutoring.wvu.edu allows you to find your tutoring center. So it actually has a search tool where you can just search by class or skill for what you're looking for. And I'll turn it over to Natalie to talk a little more.
So I'll just add that in addition to helping your students master content, that tutors can do a variety of things. They can help your students set and meet their learning goals. They can help students meet deadlines. So oftentimes what a student will do is they'll schedule multiple appointments with tutors across campus just to keep them on track with their homework or keep them on track with a writing assignment at the writing studio or something along those lines. In addition, tutors can help students communicate with their instructors. So oftentimes what we'll see is a student who's kind of really struggling to understand or articulate where they're having some difficulty. And what tutors do is they might ask the student some probing questions to kind of get them better articulate sort of where they're struggling, so that they can then approach their instructors and ask better questions of them and get help from them as well. So there are a variety of ways. I think oftentimes people think that tutoring centers just help struggling students, but tutoring centers are around and available for any student anytime that they think they need us.
All right, so next up, let's learn about the Caruth Center.
All right, thanks, Lisa. All right, so like I mentioned earlier, my name is Morgan Sharpless, and I'm a clinician at the Caruth Center. And so before we get started, I do want to talk to you guys about, how we're navigating our mental health during COVID. Go ahead, Ricky, if you can change to the next slide. Thanks. So what we do know and what we're seeing from students that we've been seeing thus far this semester is increased fear and anxiety, right? So I think, as I'm talking about this list, I think that not only is this true for our students, but it's also very true for ourselves, right? We're all living in this pandemic. And so we're all navigating the unknown, right? There are so many uncontrolled variables right now in our lives that we are completely out of control of. So it's that increased anxiety and fear about that continued uncertainty. And one thing that's happened too, I think for all of us, again, not just for students, is our lives were disrupted, right? So we are experiencing a lack of or a major change to our routine. And so, that means our sleeping habits, eating habits, maybe we're working more, maybe, we're working in the evenings or the weekends, or we're having to navigate different responsibilities that we hadn't been navigating in the past. And we're seeing the same for students, and students are really struggling in these areas. Minimize social contact, right? And so we're all, keeping at a safe social distance away from one another. And what we know as human beings is that, we're hardwired to interact with one another. And so we're having to be really creative and inventive with being, continuing to be the social beings that we are to help maintain and help take care of our mental health. And two, what happens is lack of structure and lack of organization, right? And so our schedules are pretty chaotic. We're navigating multiple things at one time. We have students who, are taking pretty heavy course loads and are also involved maybe in clinical rotations, or, they could be involved in like student organizations, different things like that. And so trying to kind of keep it all together is a lot to navigate, right? And what we're seeing students report, over half of the students that we've seen already this semester at the center are reporting like moderate to severe anxiety and moderate to severe stress levels, which is relatively normal, what we've experienced in the past, right? College is really stressful, but we're seeing it kind of more on a persistent day-to-day basis and more difficulty managing and navigating on how to cope, with these stressors in our lives. And so what I wanted to talk about, if you think about yourselves as parents and students and thinking about, what are the things that you can do to help your students right now and how you can help them navigate, because all of the things I just mentioned are true. And so what we do know is that sometimes we don't always have the best healthy and the best coping strategies, right? And so, sometimes we might turn to substances, or a big thing that I hear from students a lot is the learning to live with it and being overly critical, right? Of just saying like, oh, this is really hard, or this is really difficult, and I just need to get over it, right? And that's not always the most helpful perspective and way to kind of look at things, because it really minimizes how we're feeling in those moments and really not recognizing, the stress that we're experiencing. And so that's a big thing that I've seen on a regular basis since students have returned. Electronics, right? And so thinking about how many students are, using their phone and using social media outlets or playing video games, as a way and cope to manage, the stressors that we're experiencing. Overeating, isolating, right? Not engaging with others, kind of withdrawing. We are doing a lot of different things on campus, which I'll talk about here in a couple of slides. And, there are ways to engage. And sometimes what can be difficult is, continuing to isolate ourselves and not involve ourselves in some of these outreach events or programs that are going on campus. And another number one I should have added to that initial list, right, is avoiding. A lot of times, I see students who will kind of wait to come in to counseling until the house is on fire, right? Until they're really kind of experiencing extreme distress, because they've kind of put it off, right? That learning to live with it piece, they kind of put it off and ignored it, and then what happens is it really intensifies. And then that's whenever that stress kind of changes to distress, right? That's whenever we kind of sound the alarm. Being overly critical too, like I mentioned, so many students will often say, well, I'm experiencing this, and so somebody else maybe, has it worse than me, or, I should be getting 100% in this class, or online classes, shouldn't be this difficult for me to navigate, right? This negative self-talk is so heavy and can really negatively impact, how we're feeling and how we're managing and navigating. And so as parents, if you're talking with your students and, they're sharing some of these things and you're recognizing, stress levels are increasing, right? Or, they're kind of communicating some of their anxiety with you, encourage them and talk to them about, what things that they can do, like healthy coping strategies, right? And so I think, again, not just for our students, but we can also think about this for ourselves, right? And so seeking support. So I'm here from the Career Center. We have this amazing resource, which I'll tell you about everything that we do here in a minute or so. But using those resources, taking breaks. I can't tell you how many times I talk with students about, you're going over 100 miles an hour on the highway right now, right? How do we slow down? How do we get to the speed limit, right? How can we take a little bit of breaks here, right? And so that way we don't lose control. And so sometimes students will want to do everything at once, right? Especially with academics, and not slow themselves down and recognize, hey, no, this is really important for me to take a break. It's really important for me to hit pause. And just with that, it's important to take care of ourselves, right? It's important to engage in self-care. And a lot of times I hear, well, I'm not into sports, or I'm not really artsy, and so I'm not sure, what exactly I can do for self-care. And you don't have to be good at things, right? It's just finding something that works for you. I have a 16-year-old, right, that my husband and I have guardianship of, and, trying to navigate COVID and quarantine with a teen, right, can be a little bit challenging. And so we've been trying to be creative and engage him with different activities, trying to see what things that he likes and he enjoys. And so some of that maybe is problem solving with your students, right, and helping them explore, things that maybe they've tried in the past or things that they haven't necessarily tried. I like this concept of perspective, right? Because sometimes what happens is when we think about something, we only see it one singular way, right? And a way I kind of like to explain this and think about it is, so like you see my hand right here, right? So you think, as you see my hand in front of the camera, you're like, wow, her hand is covering her head, right? Her hand is really big. But when you take back and you actually look, that, no, my hand is a lot smaller than my head, right? Putting it into perspective for your students, because sometimes what happens is they only see that one singular view of things, and they're not realizing the bigger picture and that bigger scope of, what it is that's going on, because they can be so consumed by what's in front of them in the moment and feel so overwhelmed by that. So as a parent, right, helping them kind of step back and bring it into that perspective so they see kind of the larger of what it is that's going on. helping students set boundaries, right? And so, you know, whether it's boundaries with friends or responsibilities, or, you know, even just family too, right? And so sometimes they, again, there's 100 miles an hour on the highway. And so knowing when to pump the brakes and knowing when to take a step back and take care of themselves, right? And helping support that and reinforce that. Again, using resources. I've been at WVU for over 10 years now, I think. It's been a while, and we have a ton of resources on campus. And I like to think that I know as many of the resources as I can, and then I learn that there's even more. And so, you know, there's endless opportunities for you guys as parents to communicate with your students, or even help your students explore, you know, what there might be for them to connect with to help them cope and manage what it is that they're experiencing. You know, back where I was talking about, you know, kind of organization and time and structure, right? Making sure that, you know, your students and encouraging them that they are getting sleep, right? And that they are taking care of themselves, and they're eating healthier and exercising. And when I say exercise, I don't mean going and running, you know, 10 miles or doing some sort of vigorous workout. It could just be going for a walk outside for a few minutes, or doing 10 jumping jacks in your room, right? And so what we know about our stress response is to close that loop, right? What we need to do sometimes is a physical activity to kind of release that, you know, for our bodies. And so reinforcing some of these healthy coping, you know, strategies with students. Oftentimes when that perspective, right, is shifted, it's hard to kind of think about, okay, how can I manage in this moment? Because a lot of times our students might be used to some of the maybe more unhealthy coping, because they're more automatic and more natural for them. And so again, I was kind of going on the last slide, just different ways to support your students, right? I was mentioning problem solving, helping them, and even thinking about what's worked before, right? Have they felt stressed before? Have they felt overwhelmed before? What's worked in the past? You know, providing support, reinforcing those healthy coping mechanisms and behaviors. And, you know, one of the other #1 things that I've been talking with students about as they come into the center is time management, right? So many of the students are saying, I feel like I don't have enough time for all of my assignments and all of my work. And then we take a step back and we're like, okay, so how are you spending your day? What's the first thing you're doing in the morning? Oh, you're waking up and you're opening up Instagram. You're on Instagram for 45 minutes to an hour? Okay, maybe a little bit longer. All right, so there's where that time's going, right? How can we kind of navigate, you know, maybe instead of starting the day on Instagram, starting the day, you know, doing something else, cooking breakfast or whatever it may be. And so helping kind of explore some of the time management components, right? And these are just a couple of different campus resources and links that, you know, I use pretty frequently and been sharing with students. And so we have the Career Center website, right? We have the Well WVU website that has a lot of different webinars and events that go on campus. Obviously the tutoring website, right, that we had just talked about. And then another great website is the WVU Engage, about all the student organizations that are here on campus. And so the student organizations are still meeting and still existing. And so students still can connect with one another in a virtual way through different meetings that are happening on a regular basis. And then my favorite website, which I think is the coolest website that we have, is the refresh.wvu.edu. And so if your students are communicating with you like, hey, I feel like there's not a whole lot to do on campus, or I'm having trouble meeting, you know, other students, that Refresh website is an excellent, excellent resource to go to because it can show them, you know, what it is that's going on that day, that week, and events that are coming up. As well as the Student Lingo is a new service through the Office of Student Success that they purchased that I've been sending out to my students. And so it's just a bunch of online videos where students can watch different resources about how to study, time management, you know, how to navigate online classes. And so it's a great resource to share with your students and remind them that, hey, we have this at WVU. So after all of that, I want to give you a little bit of information too about our services at Caruth. And so we are operating through telehealth. And so we've been doing that since March. And so it's been going really, really well. We've had excellent feedback from students with telehealth that they're really liking it. Students are actually telling us that they feel like it's more accessible, so they don't have to, drive to get to the center. They can hop on and have an appointment with one of our clinicians. And so the services that we do offer are short-term individual counseling. We also have a bunch of groups, which are all listed out on our website. We have psychiatry. We have a few psychiatrists that will work with us, that will meet with students. We do have MindFit and assessment and screenings. And so we do work with Jen's unit and in terms of Office of Accessibility Services and to offer assessments for students who might need LD or ADHD for full battery assessments. Right now, we're not doing the full battery assessments. We are just doing screenings. And so if you have students who may have, attentional related concerns, they can just contact the Caruth Center and they can get scheduled with one of our psychologists to do a screening. And so we're kind of working on, a plan to communicate, the opportunity to do a full battery in the spring semester. We're doing a lot of outreach. We have an outreach actually going on tonight at 7 o'clock for students. We're going into classrooms and meeting students and letting students know about our services. We also offer the student assistance program. Students are referred for alcohol or drug-related infractions to the center. We do consultation with faculty, and we also do lots of consultations with parents. I can't tell you how many parents I've spoken to this year already about what to do. This is what my student's sharing with me. I'm not sure how to respond or how to get them to support services or what it is that they might need. And so you can call us as well, and we can kind of talk you through that process. We offer crisis intervention. We do case management. Sometimes students present with more long-term needs, where I mentioned that we have short-term counseling. And so we will help students connect with providers in the community, maybe to meet with a more frequent basis or longer kind of ongoing basis. And last but not least, we have My Student Support Program, which I'll kind of talk about a little bit more in the next slide. And so we know that some of our students may not return to West Virginia and might be living outside of the state. And so because all of our clinicians, including myself, are only licensed in West Virginia, we're only able to see students who are physically in the state of West Virginia. And so any students who are outside and who are planning to stay outside of West Virginia, we can still get them access to care. And so we have a program, it's called My Student Support. It's completely free, where your students can download the app and they can connect with a clinician immediately, and they can access this anywhere they are. And so it's a free program. And if students have questions about this, or if you have questions on how to get your student to access this, don't hesitate to give us a call and we can give you more information about getting connected to My Student Support. And so I mentioned we have a webinar and outreach going on tonight. And so we have 3 of our doctoral interns are doing a presentation about self-care and COVID. I think they had close to 100 students sign up, which is really awesome and exciting. And so we're going to be doing more of these webinars throughout the year. I think we have another one next week that I think we actually have a couple that we just are putting on still that haven't been updated, but we have the helpful versus unhelpful coping mechanisms, right? I just talked about that. That could be a good referral for students to go to. Mountains Are Calling is a really great event we've been doing outside with students, and using nature as a way to engage in self-care. And so it's a really kind of cool, unique experience for students to be able to do in person. We also have a webinar about compassionate activism. And this is done by one of our newest staff members. And we're going to be offering these on an ongoing basis, and all of them can be found on our website. We have workshops as well as, I mentioned, the groups that we have at the center. Our workshops go on a 3-week rotating basis. And so we have students sometimes who are like, I'm not really sure if I'm wanting counseling, but I am experiencing some anxiety and I need help managing this. And so they can get connected to one of our workshops. And like I said, they rotate on that 3-week basis. We have drop-in groups for students who, again, maybe don't want to necessarily engage in counseling, but maybe want some different tools and tricks to kind of learn on how to manage and how to navigate, some of what they're feeling. And so we offer a drop-in group where there's no commitment. And all of the information, like I mentioned, for the groups are on our website about dates and times, how to access. And so we also offer what we call our crisis clinic. And so our phone number is available 24/7, but what happens Monday through Friday from 8:15 to 4:45, if a student calls in and they tell us that they're experiencing an emergency, or we ask them, are you experiencing an emergency? Do you want to speak to a clinician immediately? We immediately get them connected to one of our clinicians who are available through that crisis clinic. And so what that might look like, it might be an immediate same-day virtual. And then also in some cases, we are bringing students in person for appointments for psychological emergencies. So we do have a few offices with kind of physically distant locations with plexiglass that we're able to see students who are experiencing an emergency. And so these are just some examples of a crisis. Obviously, it does not entail, everything that accompanies or accounts, for a crisis. But if your student is experiencing any of these, or maybe if you're worried about one of your students, you're not quite sure how to navigate, you can call or encourage your student to call and ask to speak to a counselor immediately. And then our front desk staff will get you connected to somebody. And so other emergency services that we offer, like I mentioned, our phone number is available 24/7. And so Monday through Friday from 8:15 to 4:45, our staff are answering the phones and navigating and fielding all of the calls. And so what happens at 4:45 and then on the weekends is we have a service that answers the phones for us 24/7. And so we have an on-call staff that rotates, that helps takes in calls. And so students can call us at 10 o'clock at night, 5 o'clock in the morning, at any time that they're feeling like they need to talk to somebody immediately, they can make that call. Oftentimes parents will also call that they're worried about the student and they're not quite sure what to do or how to navigate it. We do field a lot of calls like that too, and our clinicians can help you process that. We also have a really cool, really great service with our crisis text line. And so our crisis text line is available 24/7. You just text WVU to 741-741. Students really like the crisis text line because they don't have to pick up their phone, they don't have to call somebody. They can just open up the phone and they can text with a clinician immediately. And so this is a national service specifically for WVU with that text line. And we've gotten really great feedback for students with the ability to quickly access speaking with a clinician. As always, like Kim mentioned, with Campus Police, we have a close partnership too for emergency services where we do work with Campus Police. And Kim and the care team, the Carew Center, works very, very closely. We do field a lot of calls for students who parents might be concerned or faculty and staff might be concerned about other students. And so we always have direct and ongoing communication with the care team as well. And so here is our phone number. I tell everybody to put our phone number in their cell phone and save it as a favorite. Obviously, I'm a little biased because this is where I work, but it's a great resource to have, and that way you have it in your phone that that if you're concerned about your student, their safety, their well-being, you can call that number 24/7, and you can remind your students that we're available and we're here as a resource. But everything I mentioned today, all of the groups and how to access Crisis Clinic is on our website as well.
All right, thank you. So now what we're going to do is take questions. Now we will be taking questions that our panelists can answer. If you have other questions regarding anything else at WVU, especially where we are right now or anything having to do with COVID and anything like that, you can send those to the Return to Campus website, Return to Campus .wvu.edu. But for now, in the chat, if you have a question for our panelists, please put that in. And before we get to that, I forgot to introduce my sidekick here, Ricky Huffman, who I couldn't do any of this without. So Ricky, tell us hello here.
Hi, I'm Ricky. I'm the marketing specialist for the Mountaineer Parents Club, and I also do the social media accounts for our Office of Admissions, so I definitely live in the best of both worlds. And I'm a 3-time WVU graduate, and I have, as a student at WVU, I took advantage of the Career Center for counseling services, and they were absolutely amazing. And I also took advantage of all of the tutoring services that we had even in graduate school. So we have really awesome resources here. And so I'm looking forward to seeing some of your questions and getting our wonderful panelists to answer those for you.
All right, so here we go. All right, first up, question from Samantha. Are there still student success coaches? So yes, but I'll let Natalie go ahead.
Yeah, yes, there are student success coaches, and those are offered through the Academic Resource Center. And so to get connected with a student success coach, we suggest that you go to that website, that tutor.wvu.edu website, and there are some quick questions that you'll get to answer, and then from the questions you answer, you'll be directed to the correct website and email address.
All right, thank you. All right, from Lisa Jones, repeat the Mountaineer Parents Club phone number, please. So we'll put that in the chat. For the Mountaineer Parents Club, you can call 304-293-2506, or you can call the 800 number at 800-WVU-0096. All right, next up, this question is from Michelle. How can you get help for your student when no one will talk to you about them? So, maybe Kim, you want to start with that one, or Morgan, either one?
I can start with that question, Kim, from the counseling center perspective. So we get calls all the time from parents, and obviously, you know, when we are counseling, we are confidential, right? So us, in our regard, we're not able to disclose information, but what we do, and I know what I do, anytime that I have a parent that calls in about information that they're concerned about their student's well-being or not quite sure what to do, I can take in information, right? You can give me all of the information and share what your concerns are about the student, and I would help guide you about how to respond, kind of what to do, you know, what resources, or maybe it's how to get the student connected to us at the counseling center, or I would talk with you about care report. But one thing that we do try really hard to do is to take in all of that information and really work with you and talk with you about how we can best help your student in those situations.
And I was going to add, you can always submit a care report. So in a care report, there's a place for you to leave comments. So you will explain what's going on with your student, or what you feel is going on with your student. And we'll reach out to the student and kind of take it from there. Now, I can tell you, again, we don't discuss with parents or anyone else what the students say to us necessarily. And you can do it anonymously, but I mean, you know, if a student asks me, how'd you find out about this, or how'd you hear about me? And, you know, I can say, well, someone submitted a care report. They may very well know it was you without us even telling them that. But if you feel that your student needs some assistance, always submit a care report. I say submit it, even if you think it's something small to something big, and we can reach out to them in a number of ways. Like if it's just, like I said before, if it's just something that is not that serious, we'll just reach out and have a conversation with the student. If it's something a lot more serious, we can, if they'll give us permission, we can include you in those discussions that we have. So we do consultations with the student and with the family members. We refer students to all the, you know, the on-campus and off-campus resources if the more serious that the situation is. We do follow up with the students, and we work very closely with Caruth.
All right, thank you. All right, next question. Is it too late to apply for academic accommodations this semester if a student is struggling and had those accommodations in high school?
No. It's not too. So MindFit is located in the same spot as Accessibility Services, and we work closely since our student populations overlap, and it's never too late to apply for accommodations or request them if you applied for them and never requested them for the semester. You'll just need to be prepared that if you're just applying, you'll have to have an intake meeting with an accessibility specialist, and they're lovely and fully available. And if you just haven't yet requested them, you can just go on your SAM website and request them, and then set up meetings with your faculty to follow up. So no, please ask for the help whenever you need it. It's never too late.
Thank you. All right, there's a question here that we actually aren't able to answer. Are we staying with virtual classes? Salvatore, that's not really a question that we can answer here on this panel, but more information on that will be available to families later this week. Here's a comment from Pamela. You say to call and contact these offices, but no one is there. True, we are not always sitting in our offices. We are mostly, and a lot of us, working from home. However, leaving messages is always good. We are calling people back. Anybody else? As Morgan said, the Caruth Center, they are taking calls during the regular business hours, as is the care team.
As is Accessibility Services and MindFit are both actively answering their phones. So,
And there's other, email is also a really good way to contact folks too. So, the websites should all have email addresses that you can direct your questions or comments to.
Okay, so now we have, well, a thank you to each and everyone for this great information. Any advice for the student who may be reluctant to reach out for help and would rather call mom or dad at home? So I bet everyone can comment on that.
Well, so for tutoring, sometimes what happens is an instructor might reach out to me, so individually. And when we were in person, sometimes what would happen would be that an instructor would say, hey, I know this really great resource. Why don't we walk over to the writing studio together? So that was one way that we might be approached. But certainly an email or a phone call or an email where a student is CC'd would work. Or, you know, you could reach out to, if it were tutoring that you were interested in for your student, or your student might be interested in, you could reach out to the individual center director and say like, hey, I think this is a really great resource, and we could reach out to the student. So there are lots of ways that we could get in touch and encourage somebody to come visit us.
And I hate to keep, repeating myself, but if you submit a care report, we're going to reach out to them. If your student lives in a residence hall, for example, we're going to have the RHC or the RA go to the room and knock on the door and reach out to the student. If it's a student who doesn't live in a residence hall, the case manager or someone else, might be me or someone from the care team, will probably reach out to them. Now, again, we can't make them respond or make them come in or make them talk to us, but we're going to at least, attempt to contact them or reach out to them.
And I guess I would also add that, your student might already be reaching out to one of us. So, and you might not know. So with the care team report, so I filled out care team reports for students of mine in the past, and the only way that I know that somebody contacted them, and somebody always does, is if a student tells me. So if I fill out a care team report, unless the student sort of discloses that they want me to also know, someone from Kim's office won't call to tell me. So just because you're not necessarily hearing about it directly doesn't mean it's not happening.
And I would add, from a mental health and counseling perspective, so students will often go to parents, right, because they're comfortable with you guys, right, that you have that strong relationship with them, and so they're reaching out to you as their support system, because for me, right, they don't know who I am. Students don't know who Morgan is at the counseling center. And so it can be really scary and really overwhelming to call Caruth and to try to connect with a clinician. And so as a parent, you know, if you're wanting to help connect your student to mental health resources, or, you know, want to encourage them or talk to them about counseling, really try to normalize, right? If they give you a push, like if they kind of push back, like, no, I don't want to do this, or, you know, kind of defensive, right, kind of response, you know, acknowledge that, you know, hey, this is really hard and it's uncomfortable to try something new or to try something different. But, you know, I went to this great Parents Club webinar, and there was a woman named Morgan there, and she seemed really nice, right? And so really normalizing the resource and the opportunity to connect. And so you can even give them a little bit of data too, right? So since the beginning of August, I think I ran a report last week. I think we've had almost like 1,300 appointments at the center since the beginning of the fall semester. And so, you know, really kind of normalizing that, you know, hey, students use this service, right? The Caruth Center is busy. This is a normal thing for students to do, and students to reach out and access support and engage in.
May I also add to use Lisa as a great resource, because at least how many times a week Lisa will email me and say, how do I help the student, or who do I refer the student to, the student to, or the parent sent me a question and I'm not sure how to answer it. So I definitely would say, if you don't know where to go, start with Lisa.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I was actually going to say, if you really do need something, please reach out to the Parents Club at any point, or call either of those phone numbers. We are happy to help connect you with the right people. So we actually have somebody who says that her son failed his freshman fall semester because she couldn't find the help he needed when he was sick. And I'm sorry to hear that, Michelle, but please do keep those phone numbers and reach out to us at any point. The Parents Club, that 800 number, we are all here to help, and we will do our very best to reach out to families as we go through. All right, next question. Where would you find the list of intramural sports? That would be on the Rec Center website. Okay, I saw that the Caruth Center offered neurofeedback when you were in person. Is that still being offered currently?
Great question. No, so it is currently not still being offered because of COVID. And so what we're doing is we're kind of exploring all opportunities to continue our services and kind of figure out what we can offer in the safest way. And so neurofeedback is something that we're not offering in person right now.
All right, if a student is having difficulty communicating and getting questions, answered in class, what's the next step other than contacting a tutor? Well, a student could contact the instructor and then contact the department if they are having trouble getting communication back from the instructor.
Lisa, can I add one other suggestion?
Please.
I'll just add something. Working closely with my students, getting used to virtual office hours has been an adjustment, right? In a time where they used to ask a quick question after class or go by the office and just see if they're available. I think really reading your syllabus closely, and I have helped our students kind of post into their calendar when the different faculty office hours are and the Zoom link, so they can just open their calendar and kind of go into the office hours of the faculty member. So really making sure your students are comfortable with virtual office hours, and knowing where that information is in the syllabus is an easy way if they feel like the email train isn't quite happening at the rate they want, or maybe the question's just easier because it's going to be a series of questions to dialogue about.
I also want to chime in too. I think it's really important to tell your student to check the syllabus and make sure that they're emailing their mail.wvu.edu address and not their mix. A lot of the time professors aren't checking their mix email, which oddly enough, yes, is two different emails, but on the eCampus platform, sometimes it wants to go to the professor's mix email. And so it could be helpful to have them just make sure that they're sending it to their mail and not their mix.
Okay, can you share again the site for students to receive accommodations? Ricky will put that into the chat for us. when do midterm grades get posted to the parent portal account? So midterms will be coming out early October, October 5th, I want to say. What do you, Natalie, Jennifer, you think?
Midterms October 12th. So I think grades will be posted somewhere in that third week of October.
Okay, there you go. Okay. If a student, wait, I'm sorry, there we go. If a student was in isolation and got behind on an assignment or performed poorly due to the stress and how they were feeling, will professors work with them? Do they have any assistance? Yes, absolutely. Instructors will work with them, but anybody else on our panel?
Yeah, I would say that the instructors have been notified when a student is in isolation. So they are aware, and they will try to make accommodations. If that's not happening, then you need to email whatever that address is at the Return to Campus website and let them know specifically. But instructors are aware when students are in isolation.
Return to campus at mail.wvu.edu. We have a couple of people who would like us to be doing some group activities, which absolutely, but as you all may remember, we are on this last 2 weeks where we have gone to online classes. We are actually laying low. There aren't group activities. There aren't get-togethers while we're trying to flatten this curve. So maybe if things change, we'll be able to change that as well. Questions asked that cannot be answered tonight, will these be forwarded to the Connect call? Oh, to the campus conversation on Thursday? We will not, but please, you can tune in. We'll give you more on that at the end, where you can tune into the campus conversation on Thursday and ask your other questions. When will the recording of this meeting be available? Ricky? Later this week? Next week?
Yes, we will be emailing everybody who signed up for the event a follow-up survey, as well as the link to our website with this video. I also, now that I'm talking, just a couple of other things that I was getting. It's also important for your student, just from knowing, being a student, I felt like, I mean, I was a student for many years here at WVU. It's really important to make sure that they are reading over their syllabus, to just look at their professor's office hours as well, because most of them, if not all of them, would or should be keeping the same hours that they placed on that syllabus. It's I know in undergrad, and I'm sure everybody else on the panel can attest to this, but going to those office hours and scheduling meetings with my professors was extremely helpful, and it gave me that like one-on-one that I needed, and that is something to think about and is possible to do. Also, I'm seeing some questions about, you know, there are no activities on campus. Just so you know, all of this is very temporary, and there are activities, and I know no one wants to keep hearing the word virtual a lot, but there are, you know, a lot of virtual. Tomorrow we're having Crafty Lumberjacks again, really great group of guys that will do crafts with students that students can pick up in front of the mountain lair. There's also virtual up all night activities, but again, it's not ideal, but it is temporary. And, you know, we just appreciate the resilience of our students as we go through and navigate life in a pandemic, which I don't think any of us were prepared for, but we are as prepared as we can be. And, you know, again, your students are so resilient, and everything will eventually hopefully get back to semi-normal, but right now it's just, you know, a temporary situation. Lisa, I did receive a private message about tutoring and engineering. Can engineering students who are required to have tutoring meet that requirement by seeing a tutor for staying organized, meeting deadlines, help communicating with professors, etc.?
Yes, so if your student would like to visit a center that's not the ELC, they just have to complete an engineering study hours substitution form. That form's on the Freshman Engineering Experience website, the FEP website, and they just can bring it, or my students pass it through the Zoom file share. They can just file share it, and the tutor will fill it out for them, and then they just send it into their faculty member to document that they attended a different learning center. They get credit for going to Natalie's Writing Center, for MindFit, going to Academic Skills Consults at Student Success. So we certainly want them to go to the center that feels best for them. If they're rocking their engineering content and need help somewhere else, then yeah, come check out one of our other centers.
Thank you very much. All right, is there any talk of the pass-fail option? Actually, there is not currently, because again, we are in a temporary online class situation. So what we will learn later this week what happens next. And so at that time, that pass-fail could be discussed again, but for right now, it is not going to be an option. All right, well, that appears to be all the questions that we have. Any other questions that you all have? Please go ahead and add in. Otherwise, that's all we have for this evening.
And Lisa, I can't stress enough, as someone who is not a panelist tonight, just someone running the back end of the show, I can attest that any of our panelists and Lisa, we are always available to answer any questions, and we're happy to answer your emails from the Parents Club and get those filtered out. It's actually Lisa and I that run the Parents Club email, so we're paying very close attention to it, more so Lisa than me. She does a great job, and she is always filtering out questions and getting answers all the time, all day. So please use us as a source, and we're always here to help. There is a question from Pam, Lisa.
All right, let's get down here. You mentioned a webinar on Thursday. Can you elaborate? Absolutely. So on Thursday, we will be having yet another return to campus conversation. And we can put that link up here, or you can go to the Return to Campus website and find the link. That will be one more of the campus conversations. We've had several all summer, and this one will address again the current situation here. So if you would like to, we'll put that up. Please join us for that campus conversation. Let's see, Laura, well, thank you in Louisville, Kentucky. You want to make a club? We'll absolutely have a parents club in Kentucky. You just send me an email. I'd love to start one, thanks. Let's see here. Do instructors have a requirement to post grades in a timely manner? Natalie, Jen, that would be.
Well, certainly midterm grades. So everyone has a midterm due date. So those are posted. You know, as far as on individual assignments, there's no hard and fast rule on that.
Okay. And Michelle posts that this is our new normal and parents are very frustrated with how it's playing out, but appreciates the new information that she had learned tonight. And Michelle, I think I speak for everyone, not just on the panel, but everyone here. We're all frustrated with how kind of a pandemic has changed all of our lives. Hopefully, we are all going to just figure it all out as we go. I think that we're doing a pretty good job of communicating with our families and getting information out. And as Ricky said, our students are very resilient. I do see students enjoying themselves, and they seem to be, you know, not quite the college experience they wanted, but still enjoying what they have here. So hopefully in another couple weeks, we'll see what happens and everybody is in a better place. So that is the last of our questions. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really love these campus conversations, or I'm sorry, Parents Club conversations that we're having. We'll continue to do these each month with a different topic. Just keep following us on Facebook, or if you, in the Parents Club, you'll be getting emails where we'll put this information in. And I think we have one more slide here, Ricky. There we go. So there's how you can contact us. Again, the Facebook page, the group, our email address, that 800 number to call if you need anything. check out that Facebook page or the Return to Campus site for more information. And Fall Family Weekend. If you all can join us for Fall Family Weekend, I think that you'll enjoy yourselves. It will again be virtual, but we have a lot of good things planned for Friday evening, for Saturday, and for Sunday. We'll have some live sessions. We'll have some recorded sessions. We'll do a lot of fun things and provide a lot more information to you. So if you can join us for that, I think that you will appreciate it. If you all need anything, contact us anytime, and we'll be happy to help. Otherwise, thanks so much for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you all again soon.
Mountaineers go first, and so should you. See how we are leaving our impression on the world by hitting the subscribe button and following us on social media. So let's go.